theatre, designed by architect Giandomenico Barbieri, had started its activity in 1717. Built in the courtyard of the royal palace, it was, like all theatres back then, entirely made of wood. It was therefore completely destroyed by a fire. This is the reason why, on July 15, 1776, Maria Theresa, urged by the Milanese bourgeoisie, signed a decree for the construction of 2 new theatres. The largest one was to be built in place of an old church in the Contrada del Giardino, Santa Maria della Scala. The church, dedicated to the Assumption of Mary, had been built in 1381 by the wish of Beatrice della Scala, known as Regina, wife of Bernabo Visconti. It rose where the houses of the Della Torre family once stood, razed to the ground in 1311 by Matteo Visconti. It was named Santa Maria della Scala in honor of the family of Beatrice, whose coat of arms showed a ladder, scala in Italian. It was consecrated in 1385, the year of Beatrice's death. The church, built in Lombard Gothic style, had 3 naves and 5 bays, separated by stone columns. It had no transept and was covered with pointed vaults, which had decreasing heights. The lower part of the facade was made of marble and the upper one of bricks. It was vertically punctuated by 4 lessons, which, above the cornice on small arches, were surmounted by pinnacles. The central pinnacle was higher than the others and on 2 levels. In the center of the facade, the large white marble rosette illuminated the main nave. The highest part of the facade was lightened by an elegant double-arch window with a thin column and a capital. The church had a large niche portal, flanked by columns and surmounted by a lunette with a relief of the Virgin. Above the 2 side entrances, added later on, 2 tall ogival windows open. Above them, the wall was pierced by 2 oculi with columns arranged in a radial pattern. The side walls were punctuated by buttresses, 4 ogival windows open in each wall, surmounted by a cornice on small arches, while 2 large circular windows open above the roofs of the side naves. The apse was enlarged in the mid-16th century to expand the presbytery area and place the new choir. On the left side of the church rose an octagonal bell tower. The belfry was lit by mullion windows with 3 lobed columns and arches. A large pine-cone cusp rose above a double cornice. Imagine that the smaller apse had a semicircular plan, although at the end of the 16th century it had assumed a different form, as this sketch shows. The 2 side chapels that we see in the drawing were almost certainly built in a later date by aligning portions of the walls with the buttresses. We have a single image of the church's interior, an 18th century engraving depicting the presbytery lit by 2 large circular windows. In the background was the wooden choir created in 1560 by Anselmo da Conti, with 2 orders of stalls inlaid with views of the city. The choir is today in the church of San Fedele. In the same church was transferred the 15th century fresco of the Virgin, albeit without the side figures of St. Michael and St. John the Baptist. Also parts of the funerary monument to Francesco Orsini have survived, sculpted in 1517 by Agostino Busi, nicknamed Bambaia. The small pillars bear the coats of arms of the Orsini family and of the Birago family, to which Francesco's wife Caterina belonged, as well as the reliefs of St. Francis and St. Catherine. In the church was also the funerary monument to the prelate Giovanni Maria Tosi, another work of Bambaia. It is today in the San Fedele Center. Among the paintings of Santa Maria della Scala moved to San Fedele are the Transfiguration, painted in 1565 by Bernardino Campi in collaboration with Carlo Cupino, and the Deposition by Simone Peterzano, master of Caravaggio. The atrium of the church was enclosed by a wall that included a small cemetery area. It had two entrances, the main one in what is today Via Filodrammatici. The Duke of Milano had the right of jus patronato on the church, which had the privilege of being a ducal chapel reserved for the functions and ceremonies of the court. This privilege lasted, and, in August 1531, upon the influence of Francesco II Sforza, the Pope Clemens VII granted other honors to the canons of the Church, among which the right of using episcopal insignia. Santa Maria della Scala became the church of the civil government. Many canons belonged to noble and wealthy families and did not fulfill the obligations of their office. They defended their independence from the bishop's authority and went as far as sending back Cardinal Carlo Borromeo on a pastoral visit. After the suppression of the Society of Jesus, in 1773 the chapter of Santa Maria della Scala was transferred to the Church of San Fedele, together with part of the furniture. The foundations of the church had been compromised by a small stream that ran alongside it. Therefore, Santa Maria della Scala was abandoned in ruins. That's why the place was chosen by the Austrian administration to build a new theatre, officially named Nuovo Regio Ducal Teatro, but soon known as Teatro alla Scala. In a city in continuous transformation, over the years it became the world's most famous opera house.